And how's it been reconnecting with all the old fans and some new ones?
Oh, it's nice. I have a lot of fans that are, they seem very touched when they talk to me and stuff like that. So it's like, it's nice that you appreciate how much you mean to somebody. I always relate to, people tell me they grew up with me as like a childhood hero, so like Batman or something like that. But it's kind of nice that people, still all these years later, still hold you in high regard
And reconnect over the years.
Yeah, and there is a connection between childhoods and where I am today, and I think people seem to identify with how I've gone. As I've gotten older, things I've overcome, like my stroke and different things. People relate to that, and it's all part of. In a lot of ways, it's all adds on to the wrestling story, which is nice that they didn't just follow you as a wrestler; they follow you as a person.
Absolutely. And leading into that, your work with the March of Dimes, your involvement with that over the years, and the fans you've met along the way. Can you tell us about the experience that you've had in working with the March of Dimes itself?
Well, March of Dimes has been great for me. When you have a stroke, you really learn to appreciate the people that help you recover and get through it. And I remember all too well that when I had my stroke and lying in the hospital bed and being in a wheelchair, and you never forget the nurses and the people that help you through those days. And working with March of Dimes or Heart and Stroke and things like that, it just gives you a chance to help send the message to people that suffer from strokes or people that have family members that suffer from a stroke that things get better. You got to stay positive and keep your hopes up.
Sure. Your greatest wrestling moment and your favorite WrestleMania match of all time?
I think my greatest wrestling moment, my two favorite moments in wrestling are probably the Shawn Michaels Iron Man match and maybe the Steve Austin WrestleMania 13. Just because they're too different, it's hard for me to pick which one I like better. But the Iron Man match was certainly one of the hardest matches I ever had.
I want to talk a little about your book. How did it all come to fruition? And when you finally came to the table and wrote the book, what was the culmination of writing it and when it all came about?
Well, I started writing the book when I started writing it after the screw job or that time period. I started work because I remember thinking I have all this information. Like I made tape recordings of my thoughts and stuff, like a diary for years. So I knew that I had my own story from my tapes and just my memories and stuff. And I set out to start writing it. And then right around the time Owen died, I had already started. But it just kind of, the thing about Owen actually was after Owen passed, it was a bit of a distraction for me to sort of focus my thoughts on Stampede Wrestling and the way I started out my career. And it took me what happened with Owen was something that allowed me to put my thoughts into words and then eventually lead into. I never really thought much about my brother Owen's passing until I got to that part in my book. I kind of pushed it off to the side, and I ended up probably a year after Owen died, or 2 years after Owen died, I suffered the stroke, so that made it that much of more of a battle, and I had I just wouldn't stop. I really just focused on writing that book as sort of my, just to put my heart and soul into it.
And leading up to all of that, with the Montreal situation, and how did it feel to finally bury the hatchet with Shawn and Vince, and the culmination of how everything kind of went down at the end?
It was good. I always say it was good for me. It was good for. I know it was good for Shawn, and it was good for Vince McMahon, and I think it was good for the company. And most important, I think it was good for the wrestling fans themselves. I think we were all kind of a collective sigh when it was over. Like, okay, we can all move on now, And I think after writing my book, I felt that I put so much into my book, and I meant every word of what I said, and I would never take anything out of my book the way it was written. But I also know that I feel better letting people know that I'm not that. I think people sort of sense that after my book came out, that it's like I was a bitter, sour guy that had bad feelings about wrestling and my career and Vince McMahon, and I wanted to express myself in my book, but I don't think I didn't want anyone to walk away thinking that I hated my life and hated what wrestling gave to me, because I loved my career, and I'm very grateful for what WWE did do for me.
I want to play a little game here. I'll have to throw out a few names. Tell me the first thing that comes to mind when I throw the name out. The Undertaker.
He was a real leader, a real leader in the dressing room. He was a leader to all the wrestlers, and I like to think after I left the company, he kind of filled up my spot.
Hulk Hogan.
Overrated.
Shawn Michaels.
Great athlete.
Bret the Hitman Hart.
Best there is, best there was, best there ever will be. Still.
You gotta love that. And finally, I wanted to talk about actually the Simpsons episode when you finally did that. Was that like a great part to be? What was like being a part of American history when you did the Simpsons episode? And do you have a great reflection of that hitting American culture?
It's, I always say probably about 500 years from now, it's the only thing anyone will remember about me is that I was in the Simpsons. It was a lot of fun.
Good. And the last thing, how's your fastball after doing all these pitches at opening day, or at the minor league stadiums rather?
Well, yesterday I threw a pitch and it was a little too short, and then tonight I threw it a little too high, so I'll probably get it right tomorrow.
Great. Bret, thank you so much. Appreciate it.